One of the things that I want to start off, Cole, was I'm just curious, what is the backstory behind DocDoc? Why did you start this company?
Well, it wasn't because I wanted to be an overnight billionaire. Of this, I can assure you. So, as the video indicated, when our daughter was 100 days old, I had just flown in from London and I'd taken the red eye. My wife says, "Hey, Cole, would you take Rand to the hospital to or to the pediatrician and do a 100-day checkup?" And it was already scheduled. And I take my daughter in. She's only about this big at the time. And, I take her in and I'm holding her and the pediatrician looks at her and he just turns pale white like a ghost. And he says, "Cole, she's jaundice. She shouldn't be jaundice." He goes, "I need you to right now go to the hospital and get an ultrasound done. I'll call and get it ready right now." So I go over, I'm still not totally processing. I'm on the phone at the time and I'm not processing the magnitude of what's about to happen. I get to the hospital and I do this ultrasound with my daughter. And I remember holding her and she was trying to play in the KY jelly as they were kind of running this wand across her stomach. And the nurse starts crying while she's doing the ultrasound because she can see on the screen. What I would later find out is that my daughter's liver was failing. And the next thing you know, I'm in this tiny room. I'm surrounded by guys in trench coats. And I'm being told that my daughter's liver has failed or it's rapidly failing and that we need to do a massive operation tomorrow morning to buy us enough time for her to grow enough to do a liver transplant. And I'm reading about this and it's just disaster. The whole thing is statistically not where you want to be at all. Forget about all the emotional issues. And so my wife at the time was running Medtronic. I was an executive investment professional at Temasek Holdings, the local sovereign wealth fund in Singapore. And so we were connected. We were well heeled. We thought we were in, kind of above a lot of the fray of some of these crazy issues. But there we were. And I found myself asking the doctor, "How many times have you done this procedure?" His answer was, "I'm the head of the department. I'm good at my job." I'm saying, "Well, how much is this going to cost? Just roughly." They ask me the type of insurance I have and they say, "Don't worry about it. It's going to be very expensive." I say, "Well, do we have to do this tonight? What's the long-term issues here?" And I'm told, "Hey, you don't have a choice. We have to do this now. And the long-term consequences, don't even worry about it because you just don't have a choice. We have to do this." And I remember sitting there thinking, I'd never felt so vulnerable and alone in my entire life. And Grace, being the smarter of the two of us, she called a good friend of hers that was a pediatric live liver surgeon or pediatric cardiovascular surgeon in Singapore. And he came over and he helped us. And he walked in the room and he put his arms around us and he walked us out. And I remember when he walked in, all the other surgeons were on edge. And he put his arms around us, walked us out of the room. And he said, the moment the door shut, "Cole, don't let anybody in that room do this procedure. They're not qualified. I mean, they're qualified, but they don't see something like this very often. This is really unique. We need to do a global search and you have time measured in weeks, not hours, to get this done." And so long story short, we found the highest volume team in the world in Japan, the inventor, and they were also the inventor of the live liver transplant. Within 24 hours, we were on a plane to see them and we did the first procedure there. They ended up being the transplant team and I was the donor. But at the end of this, when I got the bill back, this team that was, from an expertise point of view, head and shoulders above the other groups that we had talked to, they were 60% cheaper. Because there's a little known fact in healthcare. What you pay and what you get aren't even correlated because nobody has access to the data to understand anything that would make it an informed decision. And so it was at that point that I quit my job at Temasek and Grace left Medtronic, and we decided that we were going to solve this problem for the world. And that's why DocDoc's unique. I mean, the whole thing is unique. It started from a very personal issue. See, it isn't just Cole and it isn't just Grace and it isn't just Rand that are going to have this problem. It's every single one of us at some point in our lives. For myself or somebody I love, I'm going to have to make that decision. And the world needs that data. Telemedicine is just the vehicle to deliver it.
Wow.
That's,
I mean, I'm shocked. I don't. I'm shocked. I'm glad at least your daughter's healthy and everything.
she's done really well. She's 8 years old now, and this journey has been nightmarish to have to build. I think defining a category is tough.
Mm-hmm.
I just, as an investor, I knew it was a big bite to define the category of patient intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
to figure out how to get access to the data, how to store the data, how to retrieve the data, how to use the algorithms to actually measure, to even know what data to collect. Because it all has to be, there's a lot, healthcare has got barriers on top of barriers on top of barriers. And we can talk about that in more,
Well, I'll make the segue, but an incredible backstory. And to be honest with you, I think some of the most incredible healthcare companies that are built, a lot of the founders that we talk to that are part of the top founders that are featured in this event at least, a lot of them have a very personal story behind the reason why they're creating this company. It's
because it's
a
so
bigger goal.
hard. Healthcare is so hard. What part of it's easy? Dealing with doctors? No. Dealing with governments? No. Dealing with insurance? Hospitals? The whole thing is antiquated and regulated and difficult. You better have a why, and that why had better be big, or you're going to quit. Right. Or you're going to develop something that's me too and easy. And the castles, the payer castle, they eat you up.